Hello and welcome to Who Are You? This is a Babylon 5 watchcast hosted by two former strangers, now friends, who've gotten to know each other while we're watching a favorite show from their childhood, Babylon 5. I'm Xhafer.
And I'm Laura.
And today we're joined, of course, by our friends over at Yum Yum.
It's me, Ryan Lise Lover Slewinski, and I'm here with a fellow Lise fan, someone who's got a new lease on life, everyone. It's, who is it? Who am I in the room with?
Your wife, Rachel.
Oh, I'm not married to Lise?
No.
In my heart, I am. Unlike Garibaldi, I would
But
actually commit to her.
occasionally you call me the love of your life.
Yeah, sure. We'll buy that narrative.
Do you also not talk to each other for 6-month spans at a time?
Only when I am hardcore drinking, but I'm not going to tell her that.
Okay.
And only when Rachel is out shopping. Rachel goes on long shopping sprees.
To Mars.
You know, we lose her for all time, 6 months at a time. I'm drinking, she's shopping. That's marriage.
I inherited a corporation just casually, just trying to figure that out.
But it's still a little bit too complex for you, huh? Oh boy, that's why you need me to help you.
This episode.
There's plenty to talk about.
I just love the way the universe has aligned.
Mm-hmm.
The universe has aligned in a wonderful way, listener, for us recording this episode. And that for us who are still on March 8th, it is International Women's Day. And we just have such a great episode for women in this Babylon 5 episode, don't we?
The irony was not lost
Such a
on
strong
me.
episode. It lined up beautifully, huh? What a moment. JMS must be cheering as he listens to this, saying, yes, this is what I intended the episode to be.
Yeah,
Right.
because Joe listens to this podcast. Of all the podcasts.
This is the one he
It's
listens to.
the two who are
He
the
wants to
least
know.
serious about it.
Oh, yeah. That's why he listens. He's sick of all these serious breakdowns from people like Rachel and I. He throws his hands up in the air and goes, I don't want to hear about the complexity of the Lise
I know,
character.
I did it.
I want to hear about disc golf and shit.
Dick and fart jokes and disc golf. That's what I'm here for. Who are you?
Mm-hmm. That's what we got.
Disc golf, dick, and fart jokes.
That's what we're all here for.
So, before we get to this episode, I did want to congratulate you guys on finishing your B5 coverage. You've gone beyond the rim.
Thank you.
It was a monumental undertaking. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day we will return to know what happens to our new friends on the Excalibur in the hit series Crusade, but not today. Not anytime soon.
You have not hit that Patreon goal.
Well, yeah, a Patreon goal of $1,000, and we will watch Crusade. That's what we threatened from the very beginning.
For a month.
Collectively
$1,000 a month.
or
$1,000
in
a
1
month,
month?
yeah. Oh, collectively. We needed ongoing
Yeah.
fuel.
Like,
Okay.
as soon as it dips below $1,000, the coverage will stop.
Yeah, just like Crusade, it will stop. So you at home can be TNT and fund us until you don't.
I'm looking forward to. We're gonna go right into Crusade once we're done with the main show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna do the movies that are in between first, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I remember watching like 4 or 5 episodes of it, and I haven't touched it since it aired. So it's gonna be an experience.
But it's got a B5 person in the main cast. They're in the opening credits, and they appear for like 3 episodes, so it's worth it just for that.
What's the worst thing that could happen? It's only 12 episodes of television.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, don't forget the Lost Tales. The Lost Tales connects to Crusade, so you need that too.
We're gonna do Lost Tales over 3 episodes because
Oh,
I don't
no.
summarize things fast enough here normally, and I really want to take those little 20-minute snippets and just milk it for all it's worth. And it's totally not because it puts us at exactly 150 episodes of Babylon 5 coverage, and that just hits that nerve for me. It just is perfect that
so
way.
you're not covering Hypernauts then.
No.
Real disappointed, Xhafer. I'm real disappointed. It's got so many great things.
I've not been able to
come
find
on.
Hypernauts.
It's on YouTube. Come on, type in Hypernauts YouTube. Yes, it's got Japanese subtitles all over it, but it's kind of fun. It adds to the charm. Laura, do you know about Hypernauts?
I don't. You're going to have to let me in on this.
Everyone sit down. We need to talk about Hypernauts instead of this episode of Babylon 5. Hypernauts was a series that was made by Christy Marks, who wrote Grail and Gem and the Holograms. And it was spearheaded also by like one of the producers, I think Doug Netter. And it's basically an excuse for the Effects Warehouse to do a show where they use all of their great effects to fill out a children's television show about a ragtag group of children who go on adventures with their little puppet friend called the Gloose. And it breaks JMS's 3 rules, which are no kids, no robots, no pets. And it's glorious. And just look up the intro credits for Hypernauts, and if you don't want to watch it, then you're a liar. That's all I'll say. The Gloose is loose.
I love it. I will look it up after this.
I will say that I'm going to look it up, but I already know that I'm not going to. So,
Okay,
I'll look it
everyone,
up,
stop
though.
now. We're going to watch an episode of it right now. It's got a Lara Kett in it, so that's worth the watch right there.
I wish I had a segue for this episode.
The Gloose is loose.
The Gloose is loose. Darkness ascending. But no, your B5 coverage, you guys, you're not doing Crusade immediately. That's a Patreon goal for you, but that's still, it's a thing. It's, you know, it's not an insignificant amount of podcasting to cover. And I mean, you guys are like 90-minute episodes on average, I feel.
Mm,
Does that sound
Mhm.
fair
Yep.
to you? Yeah.
that's
So-
fair.
Yep.
I mean, how many hours of you is there talking about Babylon 5 on the internet? Like, just
Hundreds. And that was
Yeah.
even before we started B5. When we did
Right.
Star Trek Discovery. And
Yeah,
we're just
the
like,
amount of times we were just like, B5 does this better.
it is true. It is true. We would watch Discovery and be like, you know what this reminds me of? When Babylon 5 did this, but good, actually. So how about we discuss that instead? But there's many a times we talk about B5, and you dragged us back in for a season 5 episode.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
But you said, which one do you want? And I just looked at the roster and said, there's just too many great ones to pick from. How about
Yeah.
we do an episode following everyone's favorite character, Garibaldi?
Admittedly, you did ask for Day of the Dead first because we had just done that with you. And then
Yes.
I told you that someone had already asked us for that one.
I can't believe it. Cannot believe that they stole that from
You can
us.
take it up with
I really
Shocking.
wanted to talk about
Right.
Rebo and Zudi. Again, my favorite characters, Rebo and Zudi. Do you think they went on to politics? Neil never answers that. He leaves that open at the end. Do you think Senator Rebo is there? Do you think Zudi will run for president?
President Zudi does have a ring to it.
Yeah. I think Rebo is definitely a senator, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got the attitude.
Yeah, just nihilistic enough to never get anything done.
Why didn't Byron get to meet them? If only Byron met Rebo and Zudi.
Yeah. What a tragedy.
That's the tragedy of telepaths right there.
Not all the death, the abuse. No. It's never meeting Rebo and Zudi. The true tragedy.
The true crime. Yeah.
Speaking of tragedy, we have season 5, episode 15, Darkness Ascending, ahead of us here on International Women's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Picked a winner. We open on Garibaldi wandering around a destroyed Zocalo, and it is just littered with bodies.
Sheridan is one of them.
Did you see the gnarliness of the blood splatter next to Sheridan?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like
Yes.
someone took a hammer to him. Like, that is not pretty.
But then Garibaldi has the weapon and all of the blood on his hand.
Well, that's a bit later. We have normal Garibaldi. He's been
Normal
injured.
Garibaldi.
He's
Evil
stumbling-
Garibaldi looks like he punched Sheridan really good.
I think so. That's the Janet Greek difference. Janet Greek is back in season 5 directing episodes. She
Mhm.
took a bit of a break after season 2 because she just did such a spectacular job, but she's back now. In season 5, she says, I'm going to get fucking freaky with it. And this dream sequence at the beginning has Janet Greek visual style all over it, like these Dutch angles and like these zooms in, zooms out, and
It is very distinctive.
the lighting is very spotlights in places and harsh contrasts. And I'm just like, of course, is this a Janet Greek? And then I see her name pop up and I just smile going, yeah, she's back.
It makes the Zoke feel different.
Oh, yeah. It's completely
Yeah.
destroyed. And just the choices of written in blood, just in very nice handwriting as well, might I add. Very nice writing. Just, you failed me. How could you? Where were you? Oh, Garibaldi, how could you forget this thing on the shopping list?
My favorite bit is that Franklin lives just long enough to really lay the guilt on. Like he's about to get blasted, but before he does, he really has to remind Garibaldi that this is all his fault. Do you think he's the one who wrote those messages? Given he's the only one
Franklin?
left standing? Yeah, Franklin is like writing these messages to Garibaldi before he climbs up on that bar.
Just like sticking his hands in his own wounds and
Yeah.
like all over the board. Sure.
That's where you wonder if it's a dream or not, because Franklin, in this state, is there to guilt people, just like he does in the normal reality. I mean, it's on point for his character to stand there going, this is you, huh? Have you ever thought that this is your fault, perhaps, mister?
Franklin using his last words to guilt someone is far more believable than them killing Sheridan again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the killer reveals himself to be himself, and then Garibaldi gets armist by the bar, which
Yeah.
was a choice, that effect.
It's a metaphor. Metaphors, huh?
Metaphor. Oh, so subtle. A
Mm.
bar is eating him alive. Wow, I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, don't fight it. Just let it take over you. And this is your fault. Subtext. I know writers who use it. They're all cowards.
I just watched Garth Marenghi's Dark Place again. It's so good.
It's wonderful. We still need to listen to his book.
Oh, yeah. Garth Marenghi's book came out like last year, and there's an audiobook version. That I need
What?
to listen to that. I need to hear him. Oh, yeah. He wrote, like, they
We
wrote
got
a
it on
book.
Audible, like
Yeah.
as soon as it came out, and it's just waiting there.
Yeah, and he's been doing readings of it as Garth Marenghi at stage shows, and I'm like, that would be great. That would be great.
Oh, yeah, that'd be so good. I had no idea there was a book. I'm going to have to look that up. Garibaldi wakes up from this terrible dream to Lita, like, sitting at the end of his bed staring at him.
Not weird at all. Definitely still a dream, right?
Yeah, her eyes look beautiful, right?
I wanted to ask what the consensus was on this. If this is actually a dream or not.
I am team. This is definitely not a dream. Lita is definitely playing with stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like technically a dream. Like she's entered his subconscious as he's dreaming, but she's
Yeah.
like created the situation and inserted herself like into it.
The answer.
But I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she's also like there. I don't know.
I think both answers of yes and no give great building blocks to characters in this one episode in particular. If it is, she's not actually there. It fuels what Garibaldi says later to Lise about how he feels out of control and that there are things beyond him and that he's been screwed around by telepaths and he just can't trust anything anymore. And if it is there, it really builds against what Lita's whole case is with Jakar, where she says, I'm moral and I can't cross certain boundaries, when if she is doing this, this is a huge line to cross, especially
Mhm.
because in previous seasons, she has not wanted to mess around with Garibaldi because he was the first person she met and he was nice to her in The Gathering and in season 2. So either answer is great.
And either answer also has further implications when, like, he eventually goes to Lita to try and get help with the mind block in a couple of episodes' time,
Or just even in this episode.
as well as
In this episode, Lita is trying to make a justified case for why telepaths are fundamentally good. And if
Mhm.
this is true, it just further highlights the issues that everyone has with telepaths, which is they're insidious and creepy.
Yeah. I think it is her fucking with his dreams. I don't think she's physically in the room.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's such a Vorlon thing to fuck with people's dreams. That's such a consistent plot point for Kosh that for her to say, I've been embracing my Vorlon
Yeah,
side.
but even Kosh had to like be there in the room.
Kosh didn't always have to be
Like,
there. When
Kosh was
Sheridan was
usually-
abducted by aliens, he wasn't physically there.
No, he wasn't.
But he
That
does
was they'd previously had a connection. I'm thinking,
of when Jakar had his dust freak out and
yeah.
Kosh had to
Mhm.
physically be in the room and say, I'm here too. I'm here too, guys. I mean, it is interesting. The white eyes effect does indicate something that Garibaldi doesn't know. He hasn't ever seen that kind of thing before. Even in Third Space, he wasn't there for that movie. So it
Right.
lends something that she was actually there in some way.
Man, you just named a good thing about Third Space. I didn't think it was possible.
The Zach Allen elevator scene, great.
Anyways, he wakes up again to Lise coming into the room, and we just get Lise showing up to theme.
Who's that girl? Who's that girl? It's Lise.
Aaron got excited when she appeared in this episode, and he goes, "Oh, we can use the drop."
Yes!
Yeah, you have to play it with him being like, who's this? Who's this? And then you play. It's that, that girl Lise, everyone's favorite. I love her coming in being like, is that how you talk to the love of your life? And it's like, oh yeah, Lise exists, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, they keep on telling us that they. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my god, how can I forget? How can I not buy it when they say it?
He forgot.
Yeah, Garibaldi forgets. I think everyone gets a pass. Even though we shouldn't, because Lise is such a well-developed, well-rounded character that's consistently portrayed in this show.
Mhm.
To her
Can we
credit
give it up
here,
to
she
Lise,
does
everyone?
know.
Can we give it up to Lise? Everyone, give a round of applause to Lise.
Happy
We love
International
Lise.
Women's
She's
Day,
such a
Lise.
great character. Oh my god, she's a girl boss. She knows what she likes. She likes having 14 last
Yeah,
names
she's
because
girl
she's
boss
married
now.
so many times. It's just so good. And she loves shopping. She loves having children because she's a woman, of course. Happy International Women's Day, being a mother and wife, and is all important to the identity. And now she's here because, Garibaldi needs his woman because that defines you. So thank you, Lise.
At least she does know something's wrong with him. I mean, it only took 6 months of not hearing from him for her to decide to show up. And we know she's literally, like, she's got Bezos money. Like, she's stupid rich. It couldn't be that expensive to get a flight to Babylon 5. Like, she has
Right.
actively chosen to ignore.
You could have removed the word rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's like, I've been busy with my own stuff, and you said that you were gonna come back to Mars.
JMS, I fucking dare you. Write what she was up to and show me what it was. I dare you to have a whole thing about what she did other than just sit around. I fucking challenge you, mister, to show me how she got so consumed in the 6 months of her boyfriend not contacting her.
It'll be the Mars version of The Office. That's what this show's gonna be.
Is she Michael Scott? Of course she's Michael Scott.
Obviously, she was the owner's wife. Now she's definitely a Michael Scott, right?
I fucking hate The Office.
Okay,
I know-
is she David Brent? Are you feeling better now? Is it fair? We're going to bring in the British Office. Does that make you feel better, mister?
I have not watched the British Office. I might like the British Office. My problem with the U.S. Office is that Michael Scott is just such a terrible boss that it just is like, it causes me physical pain to see someone be that terrible of a manager. I loathe
You
him.
will absolutely love Ricky Gervais, says David Brent.
I don't know. If you'd be, I'm so apprehensive right now.
I wouldn't say that. As somebody,
I
who
appreciate your
couldn't
honesty, Rachel.
Stomach the original. Like I couldn't get past like episode 2 of The Office because it.
Yeah, I mean,
felt like
David
the-
Brent does make a woman cry within like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool,
Yeah, he
cool.
does.
Love that. for
Happy International
him.
Women's Day, everyone.
Linear FaceTimes Delenn. No hard proof, but he's got some coded Centauri comms that always show up exactly 20 hours before each attack. We get Sheridan almost walking in the background, and then he's all like, oh shit. That was fun.
I'm just going to
Little
go
spin
around
move.
this corner because there's no doors and no soundproofing in these main offices.
Never.
I wrote this
Never.
down.
Never.
It's always like this in the council chambers, in their offices. There's never doors, so people can. I always think back to season 1 when Sinclair went down to Epsilon 3 and he came back up, and there was Captain Pierce in his office fucking around with stuff on his desk and his TV, and he's like, "What are you doing in here?" It's like, yeah, he got in there because there's no door, you idiot.
Yep.
Put doors here with locks. Look at anyone walks in. This is the president's office, and it's just like, oh,
It's like,
oh no,
they
someone's in there. I better go around the corner and listen, like in a cartoon.
Like, you never see them, like, putting in a code to even get into that area.
Never. I will commend.
You have the little, like, cards that get you into the quarters or your little codes, but
Nothing.
nothing for the offices.
I
And
will
for-
commend Bruce Boxleitner's physical comedy of him skirting around the
Yeah.
corner is top tier. Like, it is played for laughs a bit. Like,
Oh,
their
he's
entire
a
plot.
cutie.
Their entire plot this episode is played for comedic effect for a good portion of the time, and Bruce really delivers. Like, even just there where you just see him
He's
like
having fun.
you see his whole body be like, oh, I better not be noticed.
Uh-huh. I rag on new Sheridan a lot. I don't like Sheridan in season 5. This was enjoyable for me. Most of the rest of Sheridan in this episode, not so much, but
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, there's something about President Sheridan that doesn't hit the same.
Oof,
Yeah.
it's my favorite Sheridan, but we'll argue about it as we go on.
Like I'm saying it doesn't hit the same. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's different.
We'll argue about it as we go on.
So Lita is out here trying to hassle Interstellar Expeditions or some fucking company that's just like them to get some ships and get a homeworld for her telepaths when she I wrote remembers pleasure thresholds, and then I wish
That's
I
later.
hadn't
That's
later.
afterwards because I thought there was no way they were going to bring that up again. I had blocked this out entirely.
Buddy.
And not only do they
Yeah.
bring
That's
it
why
up
I chose the
again,
episode.
they beat you over the head with it in
Yeah.
the worst possible way.
I thank this episode for doing
They
it.
go as hard as Byron did.
Oh yeah. Oh, Byron, he went real hard. I love this scene for Lita because after all of her shenanigans with Byron and the station and everything, she's back to where she was earlier, which is just fucking running after corporate stooges begging for help, and they say no. It's just, I love how much the show shits on Lita. Like, I like it. Like, I think it's interesting that one of our main heroes of the show is treated like absolute trash by pretty much everyone in the system at large. And I just like how this corporate guy, he tries to come across as like,
It's not unsympathetic.
as he grabs her by the arm and brings her in to tell her that, like, there's just, and that's how kind of everyone treats Lita throughout the entire show, of like, they smile and they say that they aren't unsympathetic, but nobody ever backs that up really for
Are
her.
you gonna do anything? No, size.
Perhaps.
Can't.
Have you tried doing it on your own? That's like the advice. Or have you tried not bothering people about it? And I love that.
Try not having a problem. It makes your life a lot easier.
Have you tried conforming?
Yeah. Happy International Women's Day again, everybody.
Just gonna keep
Love it.
keep reminding everyone.
This actor, the corporate guy, he didn't do too many things in his career, but he was a recurring cast member in Space Above and Beyond, the science fiction series that Rachel and I have covered, and Xhafer, I know you have watched. He played the chaplain in that series, and he has one of the most memorable scenes in the entire run in which he faces off against McQueen, who's like the best character in the show, and asks him like why he doesn't believe in God, or like what do you have against God, and it gives the best speech of the show. So I wanted to just mention that because this actor, he just pops up here and then he just has one or two other notable sci-fi credits, and that's basically it. It's just, I always find these people kind of fascinating.
Yeah. like what happens in your life to bring you into this point of television and then remove yourself so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be interesting to sit down. You've gotten to sit down with a handful of people from Space Above and Beyond. Any actors of that?
Oh, yeah. We talked to Tucker Smallwood, who was in an episode of Babylon 5, talked about his experiences working on Babylon 5 and Matters of Honor when he played Mr. Ndowie, and how his time on B5 kind of crossed over with him getting into Space Above and Beyond. And so, again, like, you get people like William Forward, who also did an episode of Space Above and Beyond around the same time. And you get Tracy Scoggins was in Deep Space Nine, and you got Patricia Tolman, who was doing stunt stuff for Star Trek over here and coming in
Yeah.
B5. And it's always interesting when you look at it and see the big or small actors, how often they kept popping up in the same shows or productions, whether it was sci-fi or not. And then, yeah, even the small actors, you just go, oh, they appeared in a hit, like a number of these sci-fi shows and then just left.
Well, speaking of just leaving, that's what happens to everything on Londo's calendar on the next scene. Before he finds out that everyone has canceled every meeting in his day.
And Via's just like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. He finds it weird that the Royal Court is asking for the tracking information for everyone in the Alliance's packages. No reason.
Again, is Londo a victim of cancel culture? I think so. I think he's a victim of cancel culture. They cancelled him, and on International Women's Day of all days. How tragic is that? He's an ally, and here they are cancelling him. It's such...
He will be the first person to tell you how much he loves women.
I can't wait for his stand-up comedy tour in which he just tears this whole entire thing apart.
But really, who would you say loves women more, Londo or Jakar?
Well, Jakar loves all types of women. Londo only likes Centauri women.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. We know the answer is actually Sinclair.
Oh yeah. I didn't think it was worth asking that question.
Frictionless sheets, lest we forget.
Minbari's DNA changed forever.
Yep.
Lise goes to make some tea after all this when the DJ from STLV 2 years ago shows up.
Oh no, that was really horrible.
That was a really tragic experience.
Yeah.
I think we told this story on pod when we were getting back from that, but if we hadn't, I'm specifically referring to the time when the DJ in Las Vegas shouted out, "Where my relapsing alcoholics at?"
Yes.
Lest we forget.
At 11 o'clock in the morning, I think.
Yeah, it was a rough day.
Ooh. And did people say where they were at for them? Did they play
Did
along?
they holler back?
Did they holler back, girl?
Oh, definitely. They did, yes.
Well, that's worth it. Yeah, I actually like this scene a lot. We give Lise a lot of shit, and I just want to emphasize, jokes aside, the actress who plays Lise, I think when JMS actually bothers, she rises to the occasion because she doesn't really get she doesn't get a lot of material to do other than just be like Garibaldi's girl, and like even what does that mean? But when she is given dramatic heft like in this scene here, where she learns that he's relapsed again, she brings this history to the relationship, just with her physicality, her voice, her mannerisms, that make me buy into it more than JMS's writing ever really does. And I often, we joke we love Lise because Lise is one of the worst written characters, but she's not a badly played character. And it's just so sad because
correct,
B5 often gives these actors, big or small, those like opportunities to really shine, and she just doesn't get it as much as like people who should.
She's here more than Naroon.
She's here more than Naroon, and yet she's more significant as well. Like she's pivotal to one of our main characters, and yet they don't give her anything to do. In this episode, one of the actual reasons wanting to do it too is they give her something to do. They give her a point of view. They give her stakes. They give her actions that affect things. And I really like how their back and forth goes throughout this conversation of just her nonstop like riding his ass and standing up to him, and him coming up with a series of half-assed excuses.
Yeah, he lies through his teeth to her at a certain point about just needing to be in control. And eventually that does give way to this is the only way I can fuck up my life. Everyone else is doing it without any input from me. which is one way to look at it, for sure.
But he also denies that it's fucking up because he has it in hand. Like, I won't
Yeah.
fuck it up this time.
I can quit anytime I want.
I am
Yeah.
capable of it now because my life, unlike before when I was with you, is
I
good.
have something to live for now.
And like, how disrespectful. He even says, like, nothing in my life when I relapsed last time was worth a damn. And it's like, Lise was a part of your life. That's why she left you in the first place, because
Yeah.
she wasn't good enough, apparently. And now you're back together and you're still looking her in the eye and saying, you weren't good enough. So yeah, her anger in this scene is not just he's relapsed again, but he's also lashing out.
Yeah. And Lisa's the same person, but rich now. So, you know. Great
Well,
great
in her
commentary on
defense-
how
She
he
also
feels
has
about
an
her.
extra last name.
Yeah, well, in her defense too, she has changed because, and this is one of the things I really liked about the season 4 when they brought her back, is she's older now. She doesn't have like that time to fucking waste with bullshit, and she brings that up again here,
Yeah.
where it's just like, we're gonna do this again. Well, if we're gonna do this again, I'm actually gonna fucking stand my ground and tell you to grow up. And if you're going to play this card of I have it in control, then fucking show me. Don't tell me, show me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So after all this, we go over to Lanier on the Maria, who was at some science shit, as he human-splains hyperspace to Captain Montoya. And then Sheridan recalls them, having found out Lanier was on the ship to spy earlier in the episode. Sheridan goes to confront Delenn about this,
Uh-huh.
and she owns her fuck up immediately, dismissing Sheridan's
Hilarious.
fifis. Yeah. He'd spent so much time bottling up his emotions to lash out at her, and it was
I've been
so
working up a
rude
good
of her.
mad all day. It's just one of my
Uh-huh.
favorite lines of Sheridan's.
I've been working up a good mad all day. It's just, that's the JMS special, because it's like, what a weird line of dialogue. But you know what? It's super specific and it sounds like something Sheridan would say. And you're right, Xhafer. He's been sitting on this one because he's justified. He's like, I'm justified. And you know what? I'll say this. I love this scene as someone who is married. I love this scene, and I love how JMS writes long-term couples, because this is the type of bullshit you get into when you're in a long-term relationship at times. And it's being applied to like a grand story arc sci-fi nonsense crap, but it's still brought back down to reality. Like, Bruce pauses for an extremely long time after she says, "You're right." And he's just like,
Mhm.
no, you can't just agree with me. You can't just fucking agree with me. I've had those arguments with Rachel, and she's had them with me, where you're like, yes, I'm going to be able to like lash out, and then they just agree with you. And you're like, no, where does all this energy go now?
No!
Where does it go now?
Now
And then,
I've got all of this.
I don't know, therapy?
God damn it.
and then the classic, I think we've all been there, where somehow it turns around and you're in the wrong now. That's what I fucking love about this conversation. She manages to spin it around on him and make him in the wrong, and he even gets frustrated about, like, Bruce is such a funny guy in this episode. Just a quiver in his voice when he's like, what did I do? Like, how's this on me now?
He's like a cartoon in this episode. You called his walk cartoonish a minute ago, and I just realized I think everything about Sheridan in this episode is cartoonish.
Yeah.
Isn't he always? He's such a corny guy, Sheridan. Like, you want me to pay rent? Fuck you. Oh, leader, by the way, get out of your room because you don't pay us rent. Like, he's such a neurotic little little wiener. I describe Sheridan as a wiener. Like, yeah, he has his great scenes where it's like, get the hell out of our galaxy, but then he'll be like, well, I wash my socks for good luck.
He is a weird, nuanced dude, for sure. Delenn has diffused this whole thing so quickly, but Lanier has just launched himself off in his shuttle to try and find the Centauri base in hyperspace. He goes into torpor to conserve oxygen.
Yeah, good thing they told us about that in the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it, the whole he's really good at breathing thing. One of the things that Delenn brings up in this argument that should be mentioned is Sheridan didn't send Lanier, even though he's the most experienced with this, because Lanier is her friend. And then he responds with, yeah, that's true. We've lost a lot of people recently, you especially. And I love how he just lists, like, Marcus and Naroon and others.
And the rest. And others. Who the fuck is and others?
Excuse me, how could you forget her great friend Tanir, who met with his good friends, the Druck, the totally trustworthy, not at all shifty-looking guys. He got murdered. Like, that was one of her friends. And, come on. But no, I love that. I love that because it's just like, you've lost people. I mean, you have too, Sheridan. But he's like, nah, I'm going to protect you because, you're... that's like how he feels in his relationship. He's got to be protective, which I enjoy how that comes to bite him in the ass as this episode goes along.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be cute too that, he feels so protective of her, but it's like they're two heads of a government right now. Like, he's president and she's in charge of the military, which I'm seeing problems with this now. But like, how much protecting do you really do, my guy? Like,
Really?
He punched a guy that stabbed her one time. So, it's
True
it's
love.
the start. It's been there since the start. True love. Mac and Bo said it. True love.
Lita goes to meet with Jakar because they wanted to really give us just an even more awkward scene than we've already had this episode.
yeah, it just really ratchets up the ante again.
I love that scene so much.
Such a... Do you ever notice when you get an ensemble show, like a large ensemble show like this, that they have to explain in text that characters that you know and like don't interact with one another very often, if not at all? And that's what this is, where they're like, hey, well, we haven't had a conversation in 6 years, by the way. Isn't that kooky and strange? And then,
Right.
And then they looked at the camera and said, did you know that, audience?
Don't come for us.
Do not write any complaints. We noticed too. They are going to pull the bullshit of, we've had so many great conversations over the years, because they haven't. They have had no conversations over the years.
And the last conversation they had was notably, I don't want to say cringeworthy, but maybe what's worse than
Charged?
that? I don't know. It was
very-
I like if you enjoy that scene because it's if that scene is, I don't know. From The Gathering, I just can't. I hate that scene. It feels so forced and disgusting, and it's just like, oh god, the way Jakar says pleasure thresholds, it's just like,
He brings it back.
ugh.
Andreas brings
Yeah.
that delivery in this episode, like no time has passed. He's so
Yeah.
fucking good at calling it back. Look, I love that scene. I love that scene in The Gathering because it's so fucking bizarre.
Yes.
The Gathering is boring and tedious and dull, and the most
Yes.
exciting things are when it's weirdly horny, like the frictionless sheets or the list or, the breeding and the mating and the pleasure thresholds. And to give season 5 its due, and this episode especially, it calls back, not just directly, but thematically and tonally with where we started with the show. This episode has a lot of callbacks to where we started with the show. This obviously being the most overt, but like, your jaw drops on the floor because you're like, surely they won't bring it up because, like you said, Xhafer, that was a
Yeah.
cringeworthy scene or an embarrassing scene, and the characters, they've changed. And
Yeah.
yet...
And the show.
has changed. But yet, as someone at home who watched that, and that's like a memorable moment of Jakar from the beginning of the show, I would feel it's dishonest if they never brought it up. And so a part of me is glad that they fucking bring it up. And not only do they bring it up, they play with it in this scene.
Yeah, it's... I mean, Lita, at the very least, lays out her terms. She needs cash, ships, and one more awkward comment. So I can give her props for turning it around
She
on
gets
him.
her own, though.
Yeah, she does. Garibaldi and Lise go to Fresh Air, speaking of callbacks to the first season, where Garibaldi mentions that the last time he was there, a bunch of terrible shit went down.
Mm-hmm.
He could say that about going anywhere on
yeah.
Babylon 5, though, to be honest.
But he says, like, Fresh Air is like this cursed place for him. Like, every time he goes there, bad things happen. And by the end of this episode, he's proven right yet again.
But this is also where he got a pizza delivered from, like, 2 episodes ago. He got that suicide pizza was from Fresh Air. So,
Exactly. And was that a good thing? No. A sign that he's not doing okay. He's eating a suicide pizza or drunk on the floor, Uncle Mike.
ugh.
Oh, did you note down what he said about Catherine?
Yeah, vanished a year ago.
Got a Catherine name drop.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's in reference to?
It's To Dream in the City of Sorrows, which I just found a copy of and is sitting almost within arm's reach, but I can't quite get it to show you that I've got a copy of it now.
Great little shout out. But I liked that even Catherine Sakai, a character who, let's be real honest, most fans don't even remember to bring up after a certain point. It's astonishing that the show brings it up. Like, the show still has affection for this character. And yeah, it's saying, like, there's some weird story and, you know, maybe check out a book about it. But even then, it's nice that Garibaldi's taking this moment to reflect on how much things have changed and yet not as well.
Lise starts to ask Alfredo about when he's going to come back to Mars to help run Edgar's Industries. And I'm a little fuzzy on the time frame on this because they haven't spoken in 6 months, which means he would have agreed to this more than 6 months ago, which means he would have agreed to this before he accepted the CIA director gig for the ISA.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Man, that
He's running
fucking
away
sucks.
as
Yeah.
usual.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but it was also because like he made that job for himself to be like, Lockley says I can't be there, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a reason to be there.
You never forget that he made his job as the head of the security covert stuff just to spite Lockley. He's like, Lockley's like, get a job, then you can talk to me. And he's like, fine, I made a job. Now you have to talk to me. That's why he's here, just for spite, and he's running away, which is classic Garibaldi.
So classic.
After a season of Garibaldi being an enormous prick, it's great to have him be a prick in a way that we all know and love.
Because it was him that just turned up to 11.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to talk about their problems. He wants to eat, drink, and fuck it out of their systems rather than be well-adjusted adults. And he can't even make it a few hours before he has to go sneak a drink as he spikes his coffee.
This waiter is bonkers, though, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the waiter's insane.
The waiter,
for sure.
The waiter is.
The waiter is insane.
He goats him into it. He's like, come on, get into this. He goads him into it. But I wanted to note something down. Very, very interesting thing. The reason is Lise says, well, prove to me, do not drink. She makes the ultimatum. She says this. Then they get into a tizzy. They get into a fight over this. And the first thing she says is, I want a red. Anything red. She orders a wine.
The way that she does that is she words it very weirdly.
But angry because it's spite. She's really pissed off at him and she needs a drink. Which is an interesting thing that the episode doesn't speak about, but like it is fascinating that through the season we've had different characters realize or kind of understand that Garibaldi is relapsing, and they all have different approaches to it. Like Franklin earlier in the season, like an episode or two back, he knows something's wrong, and then Lise, she's trying her best, but then here she is being like, you know what, you fucking pissed me off, I need a drink to deal with this. And it's like,
we're out for dinner, I'm gonna have a drink because I can handle my liquor.
Yeah, it's again like that's a touch I like. I wish that the show had more of Lise so that we could appreciate and kind of dig into little things like this rather than it being a fleeting thing that most people wouldn't even like realize is there. Well, the waiter says to Garibaldi, so that's the coffee, huh? Wink, wink. You want more of that coffee,
So I
huh?
see we were talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Now, we're Australian. We don't drink coffee with dinner. But that's an insane thing in itself, right? Like, Garibaldi's drink of choice is weird. He's like, I want steak and a coffee. Great combination. Great combo.
My dad would do this. I grew up with someone like my dad did this all the time, so...
Did he have the special coffee, though? You know, wink, wink. Did the waiter get him that special coffee?
I'm sure sometimes it was, and I just didn't notice as a child. But I wonder if all of this is hinging on something unspoken, perhaps, because we know he's already lied about having not had this restaurant in a long time, and we know that he just ordered it a couple episodes ago. I'm wondering if he's gotten drunk here a number of times, and this waiter is just expecting that out of him.
Oh, that would be an interesting read on the situation.
I just think it's JMS being weird.
Oh, very likely.
I think Garibaldi is the kind of dude who's just like, I ordered food from here, but I haven't been in the restaurant, so that's what counts.
Yeah, there's just
I mean,
such
he might not
a
remember.
nostalgia when he's physically sitting there. Yeah.
They do play his alcoholism as consistently, constantly blackout drunk, with very little in between. He seems to get very drunk very quickly too, for someone who is consuming a lot of alcohol. He seems like kind of a
sleepy.
cheap date for an alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
almost, because he drinks. We've seen him drink a couple shots and then be passed out in chairs. We could just presuppose that he goes through a lot more that we don't witness. That's fair.
Well,
that's
that's what Lise finds. He has many empty bottles in his cabinet, so he goes through a bunch of things.
He could also just be lazy about taking out the trash and have only gone through that many bottles in 6 months, which for someone who's getting blackout drunk every
Still
night,
more than
as
he
he's
ought to be.
portrayed, is not a lot. Agreed, for sure. Anyways, Montoya calls B5 to let them know that they haven't found Lanier and he's fucked. And then we cut to Lanier, and he is indeed fucked, but just not how we thought he was going to be.
Just not completely.
He does find a source of air. It's just attached to a Centauri ship. This is crazy to me. Because, one, there's a time jump immediately after this scene. Because he went from being 36 hours without air to it being 3 days in one cut. Which implies he's attached to this ship for several days, just siphoning oxygen. Would you not notice? Like, the Centauri ship wouldn't notice that, like, there was, like, it's not like the weight would affect anything, right? Because you're in space. And as far as we know, hyperspace is weightless as well. We've never heard anything otherwise. We know that physics doesn't really work there. And it's not ever defined for the sake of storytelling. So
there are
whatever.
a few things that can answer that. We have seen, even in The Gathering, that ships can just attach themselves to fucking Babylon 5 and no one would notice. No one notices.
Yeah.
That's a thing. And then obviously a thing that will come up at another point is who is piloting these ships is also a thing that makes that statement
It's just
interesting.
like, well, they think that nobody knows that they're there, so why would they be that thorough?
Yeah,
Because
fair.
if it is like the Drak autopilot system, it's probably not enough of an error for them to investigate it. And even if it is like some Centauri on there, why would they care?
I like the time jumping in B5. It doesn't always draw attention to itself. So when you like say those days and hours and stuff, it's like, yeah, it doesn't feel that in the episode, but at the same time, I kind of like being able to look back and kind of track it and be like, oh, that's interesting. Like this episode took place over 2 weeks. Or this one took place in 2 days.
Or 20 minutes. Some are very compressed as well. So it's, I do really enjoy that about the show. It is very cognizant of the time that it takes in writing, even if it's not always expressed to the audience. That's something that JMS does really, really exceptionally well. Unlike writing Lise. Happy International Women's Day. Veer wakes up Londo.
We love Lise.
Veer wakes up Londo with a urgent message from the Centauri Prime. The Alliance is going to blame the Centauri for the attacks. They're making stuff up. You've got to do something, Londo. You can't let them blame us. Is the minister in on it at this point? I don't remember. And you know what? Don't answer that question because you've just watched these episodes and you probably know the answer to that question. Don't I'm just
we debated this as well on our podcast.
Okay.
It's actually something that's in the fan base debate of, is this minister under control? Is he in on it? Like, what's his level of knowledge
Does
on
he
things?
have a keeper? Does he not?
What's his and he will come back. He's in an episode or two after this, so you get to note down, but I will note down, not in this episode but in future episodes, his line deliveries at time has a certain glee and pleasure in saying certain things that makes me indicate that he's just a guy. He's just some dipshit minister who's just kind of riding the wave.
He's just a typical Centauri.
He's so smug. I love this guy. He's so fucking smug. He has like this huge jawline and like this thick accent, like this Irish accent, and he's just so smug. Hello there, Londa.
I think if I'm the Drock, I would not have someone under control send this message. I think you let it occur naturally so that the freak out is incredibly genuine, because I think that helps sells it. And it does feel a little genuine to me as it's coming across. Like, why are they blaming us for this stuff? Like, I do think he's out of the loop, but it is just something interesting to note and discuss.
He is also just using the usual Centauri talking points.
Rhetoric.
Yeah, the rhetoric of it's not us, can't be us, we're in the right. And it's
we never
those...
do anything wrong, and people keep on blaming us.
Have you not forgotten that we're racists, Londo? It's probably those filthy Narn or those untrustworthy humans or maybe even those suspicious Minbari. It can't be us.
Not too long ago, we bombed them into the Stone Age. They might be a bit annoyed about that still.
Yeah, so it's definitely not us, though.
After this, we go back to Jakar, who tells Lita that the Narn accept the offer so long as they don't mind spying too. When Lita says that that's too far, despite having literally done the thing several episodes ago to all of the ambassadors that he asks.
Well, that's a lesson, though, isn't it? Because that decision destroyed the colony, that destroyed the thing, that ruined Byron. I like that. I like that. In a way, the Byron stuff, it's so strange. In the back half of season 5, they rarely, if ever, truly mention that the Byron stuff even happened. Like, in Bester's episode, like the Korra's mother, Korra's father, they treat it almost like a joke. Like, yeah, we sorted that. And we don't get much of it. But I do like these subtle touches where she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, yeah, again, because when you did it last time, it ruined everything.
And we disagreed because I brought up the question of, well, did she just scan Jakar and knows that this is fake?
Yeah, she's a telepath
Also
that
very possible.
in the start of the episode is shown to be someone who will just go into people's brains without them even knowing, or even if they do know.
She's done with having manners.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like more specifically, she's done playing by the Psy-Core rules that she was brought up with.
I mean, it can be both. She can know that this is a test and bullshit, but she can also understand and have had character growth.
Or she could just be moral now.
Yeah.
She could just be moral.
So you can make an argument for all of these interpretations, but you cannot make an argument for various interpretations of Lise.
No. I love, as well, I love Lise, number one. I love Lise. Number two, I like how Andreas and Patricia play this scene. I think that it is sad that they never got more scenes before this because there's such, like, off-kilter performers. Like, their energies are just super specific. Like, Patricia told me...
It's so great that they get paired together.
Yeah, they get paired here. And I like how he's doing this as, like, this little moral lesson of, like, I wouldn't have given it to you if you didn't do this. But it doesn't come across as too corny to me because these two actors just have a certain rhythm that they play off of with each other so well. Like, she gives this smirk at the end of the scene, and I just love it. I just love it so much. Like, hence earlier when she gave him the, I found out recently I don't have a threshold. It just feels like these actors really get the material that JMS puts down. There are some who get it better than others, and I think these two really know how to sink their teeth into it. And this is a scene where it's like, yeah, I wish we actually got more of Jakar and Lita being buddies and mentors and challenging one another and offering each other this and that.
Yeah. This could have opened the door to that. if the show had gotten to go on longer.
Mm-hmm.
Lanier, while attached to the Centauri ship, gets a full recording of a Centauri attack, and he hides in the debris, hoping that they won't notice him. Lanier is found and is already on his way back to B5, courtesy of the Maria. Delenn is so happy Lanier has lived that she's celebrating in the hallway. She's about to cry, tears of joy, and then she sees Londo, and the reason for these tears changes because she understands the inevitability of what is about to come here, and she gives him a hug, saying that this may be her last chance to do so.
Fantastic, huh?
I have a question. So, if you're Londo, and people have been behaving kind of weirdly to you for the last few episodes, and you just got a call from your home world that says they're about to frame us, and then Delenn gives you a hug and says, we're about to not be friends anymore. Like, would you feel a little weird? Would you feel maybe
Oh yeah,
a
I
little
would
like
be
things?
so confused.
Well, that's what's on his face during this scene. He's like, oh, what is going? Like, there's a mixture of like
wait,
confusion.
maybe actually it's. Oh, what the fuck is the fuck is coming for me?
This is the beauty of a Janet Greek directed episode. She really lets the actors play with the material and really go for it. Like Mira's acting in this scene is some of her best. Like it's such a mixture because I don't even know if she's crying about the Centauri stuff. Like I think there's a part of where she's doing that even before she sees Londo. Like it's this laugh and cry and just this hysteria, but joy and ecstasy. Because we also had a scene
completely overwhelmed.
because we had seen a moment earlier where she's almost completely catatonic in bed as Sheridan's just babbling away about how it was logical to pick Lanier, and then she just says he's not dead, and she's very stoic about it. To this scene where it's the complete opposite, where there's so much overwhelming emotion that you could read it a multitude of ways, and then you cut to Londo, who gets this hug. He's walked in. He doesn't understand what's happening. He doesn't have the full context, but you see on his face this confusion, but also worry, and just the whole scene has this. This is what I love about season 5. This overwhelming dread in the air of things are not going to work out well, and that's like what this scene does perfectly. To your point, Laura, is it's like. He knows that things are not looking good for him, but he also knows personally that he hasn't done anything wrong lately, so surely it should be fine.
Yeah.
He's been working on his redemption.
I've been trying to be a good man, so things shouldn't be bad, right? Please.
I haven't done
I made
genocide in
your car lose
seasons.
an eye, but it's okay now.
I said sorry.
buddies.
I said sorry earlier. I'm a good guy now.
Yep. Jakar and I can chill. It's not even like I did anything wrong to the Narn. Right? Right? Right?
Surely I won't get punished. Please. I reaped, but I don't want to sow.
Yeah.
No, that would be. I wouldn't deserve that.
That'd be absurd. Lanier delivers the recording, and now they have to deal with that. The fact that they finally got the evidence that they wanted but desperately did not want.
The countdown's begun.
Xhafer, please don't skip over this. It is International Women's Day after all. I know, Rachel, you vocalized this to me when watching the scene, and Laura, I don't know if you felt the same, but Lanier, during this entire conversation where he's like, here you go, Entelzar Delenn.
Yeah.
Not at all.
President Sheridan.
He's just such a nice guy, right, Lanier? Such a nice
The nicest
guy.
Respectful.
No repression in the air, no animosity at all. It was completely not at all awkward, right, guys?
It's definitely a sign of respect for their positions, not him trying to distance himself from them and ignoring their personal relationships. No.
Nailed it.
No.
That scene.
He's just full ranger in training.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it. In all seriousness, Bill Mumy is known for not liking Lanier's story near the end of this show, and yet he still gives a really dedicated performance. I felt
Yeah.
so many things in this scene alone, from his physicality, from his vocal delivery, the lack of eye contact, and Delen's serious amount of eye contact with him. It's
Mhm.
just
Like
one of
she's
those
trying to
scenes.
seek him out. Like he's avoiding looking at her, and she's just like, "Damn it, look at me,
And
look at me."
I hate the linear stuff. I do, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I praise JMS. He knows how to write and play out this uncomfortable dynamic of the lovelorn incel weird type and the woman who
Yeah.
has to abide by that. And
Mhm.
it's just so gross, but at the same time, it's played pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill did an excellent job on that. I was thinking the same thing, that like it's a crime that he's having to take this turn with his character, but he's doing it very, very well.
Yeah. After this, Lando and Veer discuss exactly how fucked they are. And then Garibaldi
Well,
runs in to tell
he's talking to
Lise-
his good friend. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, don't forget that Londo's talking to his best friend, Franklin. You know, his good friend. He even calls him the Doctor, because that's how close they are. I love that. He was like, hey,
Yeah.
could you please don't interrupt? I'm talking to my good friend, the Doctor. You know, those two characters that often have scenes together, and very familiar, deep,
Maybe
and
they're a
nuanced.
bit closer after his heart attack.
Richard Biggs.
Right.
I don't know if you guys have commented on this enough, but Richard Biggs, you know, he's one of the underrated actors, but I deeply am enamored with, in season 5, his character gets like a whole entire thing of, you no longer have to worry about plots because you're promoted and you're going to leave later. And so you get to see Richard Biggs play Franklin with this air of, you know, I'm not going to be here forever, you know, I'm actually leaving soon. And so him during the scene where Londo's like, you're not going to use this for like military
Uh-huh.
might, are you? And he's just like, why does everyone keep saying that? Like, I like chill Franklin, who's like, I'm about to clock off soon. So, well, I don't really have to put in that extra effort I used to before. Just the look on,
Right.
but then the look on Richard Biggs' face when clearly Garibaldi has told him that the Centauri have attacked and they have evidence. The look on his face and directing it at Londo, it just shoots right through you. You can feel how horrible Londo feels just because lovely old Dr. Franklin is giving you this look of, what the fuck have you done?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting that Londo was in the beginning of the conversation saying, you know, you're not going to use this for bad purposes, are you? And, you know, when the tables have turned, actually, it was Londo's people that have done something horrible. So it's a little rich coming out of his mouth, worrying about these things.
Yeah. And then as Garibaldi is telling everyone the news that they're not supposed to know, he runs in and tells Lise that she needs to go back to Mars immediately because
Mhm.
a war is going to break out with the Centauri tomorrow.
He tells her to leave.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Just leave.
Strange. That cat just told me to leave.
He at
It might-
least tells her
It's
why.
so like it's very written. Like it's not how you would have a conversation, really. Like he's like, I'm not going to give you context. I'm just going to tell you to leave, and it's going to stress you out, and you're going to ask me why, and then I will drop that line so the episode can end on it.
It's like when Sheridan. Okay, when Sheridan tells Delenn that Lanier is alive, he says it in the TV way that you do it, where he leads her to be like, I've heard news about Lanier. And you see her go, he's alive. Just say, Lanier's alive. She goes, what have you heard? Lanier's alive. That's what you say. But no, in a written thing, and that's where you're saying, Rachel, where leave, Lise. Like, so dismissive. Again, is the dynamic between Lise and Garibaldi supposed to be good or
So
not?
many
At
red
any point,
flags.
at any point. Not just, I understand the complexities of relationships. It's like one of the reasons I love Sheridan and Delenn's relationship is after a certain point, basically for most of the show, they aren't given bullshit drama to put roadblocks into their relationship or to test it to say, are you worthy, like many other shows do. They have their moments, but for the most part, like even in this episode, you're never worried that Sheridan and Delenn are actually going to have a serious
This
ongoing
won't
drama
break
from this.
them.
It won't break
Yeah.
them. But with Garibaldi and Lise,
Right.
it's more, why are they even together? And
Yeah.
I never get a satisfying answer to that, other than his woman, she's he's in love with woman who's nice. That's it. What does she get out of being with Garibaldi other than being told
Yeah.
leave?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she
Yeah.
eventually gets somebody to run a corporation.
Yeah, but that proves her previous marriage was better because she got a fuck ton of money from it, at least. And now it's with a fucking Nazi.
Different strokes for different folks.
Lise just loves settling down. That's all she wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wants to settle down with a hyper-conservative, domineering man. Clearly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's her type.
What every woman wants
So,
on
I guess-
International Women's Day.
Yeah, we just want to be told what to do, right, Laura? We
Yeah,
we don't want to make
mhm.
decisions for ourselves.
Could you
No.
imagine the episode of Signs and Portents if Lise was there and Morden went up to her? And Morden went up to her and he's like, "What do you want?" And she's just like, "I'd just like to settle down." And even he is like, "Whoa, my associates can't even manage that. We've got great powers, but we can't help you with that one." And he just walks out of the room.
Yeah. I mean, we've been told every episode since Lise first showed up that that's all she wants to do is settle down. And we've been told that they have some kind of established relationship and some kind of drama. But without seeing any of it, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just don't believe any of it. It doesn't make sense.
No.
I believe that they used to have a relationship. I don't know why they have one now, but they do.
And JMS has proven that in short periods of time, like you don't need much screen time, you can make us believe in pre-established relationships in which you tell us. Like
Mhm.
Catherine, who gets a shout out in this episode, was a well-written character for that. Like you believed her and Sinclair had this rocky on-again, off-again relationship, and maybe they shouldn't be together again, but here they are, and what does that mean? Garibaldi, it really is just, she's a prize to be won. And he literally won her at the end of season 4, and now he's put her down again because for JMS the writer, how do you incorporate her into your story?
Mm.
Because what is there to incorporate?
Her business that she inherits. Yeah, that's
That wasn't
her
even
sole
hers. It
contribution.
was another man's. Yeah.
Ugh. Happy International Women's Day. So, how do we feel about this episode using our not patent pending scale of Babylons 1 to 5? Yeah.
Rachel, it is International Women's Day, so please.
But as we established, I just want Amanda to tell me what to do. So, Ryan,
Could you please rate the
tell me
episode?
tell me what to rate this episode.
Leave, Rachel.
Oh,
just
no.
leave.
Okay.
Oh no.
Goodbye, Rachel. No, Jafar's telling you to stay. Which one do you listen to?
Oh no.
Well, you're my husband, so you're in charge.
I am in charge. But he's the host, so there's authority there. No, what do you feel? What's your rating on this?
This episode, it's weird because it has stuff that I love, and it has stuff that I love because it's bad, in a weird way.
Yeah.
But so it ends up somewhere in the middle for me. Like it's not good. And it reminds me of more stuff that I don't like that's like surrounding it, like the whole stuff with Linnea.
Yeah.
But then it also has like the setup for Jakar and Lita going exploring together, and I love that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I love Delenn and Sheridan and their relationship, and it's nice that Lise actually gets something to do. Even though she's still like a shit person and a shit partner, but so is Garibaldi.
So,
So it's like you're so shit, you deserve each other. So I'm like, where do I end up on a scale of 1 to 5? It's just like I'm so used to Yum Yum's system.
good and bad. Sorry, you got to play by
I
their
know.
rules. It's their ship. It's
I know. I guess I'll go with. Can I give half a ship?
You can
You can
Okay,
give
so
half.
the unspoken rules, you can, because we don't give a fuck about our own rules. So you can give half of a star, half of a Babylon. You can also just say fuck this episode, and just not. Just you're done with it. Wash
Fuck
your hands
this
of it.
episode. Like it's not that bad. I
It's-
think it's
yeah.
just like I'm gonna say it's a 2.25.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
I actually like
quarter
like
Babylons.
this episode. Yeah. A
Okay.
quarter Babylons. I actually like this episode a lot. When asked which one should we do, I said, "Oh, Darkness Ascending." And a huge reason why I really enjoy this episode is for many, but I like Garibaldi's stuff in this. Yes, Lise has been up to this point.
That dream sequence is great.
I love the dream sequence. I love the effect, but I love season 5 Garibaldi. It's my favorite iteration of him. I genuinely feel something for him other than annoyance. I think Jerry Doyle's acting in this episode is some of his best. You genuinely feel terrible for him and terrible about him, which is a very interesting place to be. I think it's the most humanizing he gets is in season 5 when he relapses. And instead of it being like all of the stuff in season 4 makes him and Sheridan have conflict, instead it's about him having conflict within himself. I like all of the Londo stuff in the background of him realizing that he's slowly realizing that he's fucked. The acting from Mira is wonderful, and yes, the linear stuff is awkward as hell as usual, but it's played and written very well in this episode, and I like season 5 Sheridan. I like President Sheridan mainly for the two reasons of the show makes him a bad person. Like, he fucks up. He's not good. He's a terrible leader. He makes obvious mistakes, but they're mistakes that he would make because he's never been interested in politics. And I like seeing more of the emphasis on him as a husband and a partner and how that merges and conflicts with him being the president of the Interstellar Alliance. Like, yeah, there's too much of an overlap between him protecting Delenn and him doing his fucking job. And I think Bruce plays it great. I give this one 4. I give this 4 stations. I give this 4 Babylon 5s. I like this one. I think it pairs nicely with the next episode too. But yeah, this isn't a top tier episode for me. But in this stretch of season 5, I think it does stand out. And I also like the callbacks to the previous years of the show.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say this one is bad. And I think as Ryan was running through those like major parts of the episode, I felt like, I liked this, I didn't like this, I liked this, I didn't like this. And to me that averages out, right? It's right in the middle. It's a Babylon 3 for me.
I'm right about there too. I do enjoy a lot more of this episode than I dislike. And the parts of this episode I dislike because they made me groan, not because I thought they were bad or I was upset at them. And sometimes that's what you're trying to do as a storyteller. There are more emotions to experience than anger, joy, love, fear, which tends to be most stories focus on those things. And so getting something that makes me feel frustrated is still a valid choice from an author and a storytelling point, even though it's not what I typically go to stories to feel. But the Babylon 5 has never been afraid of making you try to feel everything, which is one of the things that makes it such a great show.
Yeah.
I do think this is probably Bruce's best comedic acting in the series, at least that I recall. Offhand, there might be better moments, but as an episode, I think he does a really good job in here. We're laughing at him. He is a clown, and as long as you take him with that regard and not him trying to be serious, then it's a lot more enjoyable. Because if you think he's being for serious when he says, I've been, working up a big mat all day, that's tragic. It's supposed to be funny, and it is, because there's he's clearly not, at the end of the day, he's clearly not actually mad. He was working himself up to try and be mad because he thought he had an opportunity to be righteous about it, and he does love an opportunity to be righteous. That's our Sheridan, all right. So overall, I would say 3.5 for me. And that is getting the bonus point for being season 5 without telepath bullshit that I've been giving most episodes after we've been out of the telepath story arc. So
There's just a floor now that's at
But there
0.5,
is
like half
telepath
a point.
bullshit
Yeah.
in this.
yeah, if I didn't have to see
Well-
Byron, then you get a bonus half a point.
Yeah, I want this. This wasn't the bullshit. This was some telepath, like actual lore for me. It's Byron's
Yeah.
the bullshit.
Yeah, no, this was good telepath stuff. Yeah.
It was telepath shit, not telepath bullshit.
Yeah,
So,
there we
yeah.
go. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I'll take that. All right. That's an episode title. All right. Well, speaking of episode titles, our next episode has a title. Nailed that segue. We've got season 5, episode 16, and All My Dreams Torn Asunder. Sheridan announces the Centauri's guilt. After a boycott is issued against them, they recede from the Alliance and threaten to use force. Lando finds trouble when he returns home with Jakar. Garibaldi takes on an awesome responsibility.
Hmm.
Oh,
Oh god.
oh God. That episode,
Oh,
that
God.
episode's a meaty one. Directed by Mira Furlan's husband. So keep an eye out.
Oh,
Wow.
Sadly, the only one that he did.
Only one he
Exciting.
directed. He was wanting to direct since the beginning, and they said, yeah, we'll get to it eventually, and then they just never got to it till the end. And then apparently he was supposed to direct an episode of Crusade, but then the show got cancelled. So truly a bummer. He's actually one of the best directors on the show, but keep an eye out for yourself and see if you feel the same.
all right. We will.
Hey. I'm gonna watch it with that eye.
Thanks so much for joining us. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find more of you?
They can find us on various social medias and podcatchers under Yum Yum Pod or Yum Yum Podcast.
We went through Babylon 5 from beginning, middle
Yep.
to end. We even did the Lost Tales. Yes, we found them.
And
They were once lost, but we found them.
all
everyone.
of that is on our main feed so that you can pick and choose or
You can even go back to the start and hear us talk about Star Trek Discovery. Can't wait for the last season of Discovery.
I was
Did you
gonna
note
ask.
down 5 seasons of Discovery, 5 seasons of Babylon 5? Coincidence? I think that means
Probably.
both shows are as
One-
good as each other.
one thought that they were going to get more than 5 seasons. So
One did get more stuff than Discovery, but hey, we don't talk about hypernauts enough.
hey, one has David Cronenberg. So
That is true. David Cronenberg is in Star Trek Discovery getting a nice paycheck, and he refuses to take off his glasses, which is hilarious. It's like, Xhafer, if you showed up in Discovery and said, no, I'm not taking off my glasses. You have to
no.
write a reason why they're on. It's
Right.
like, but we're in the future.
Don't
It
care.
sucks shit. We don't care. Wear glasses. But
Hey, Kirk got glasses as well.
That is
He's
true.
allergic to
He was-
retinol X or whatever that
yeah, that's it.
drug
Yes.
David Cronenberg's allergic to retinol X. But
And they haven't created any single alternative in the hundreds of years that are between.
the burn happened.
You
Rachel.
know what,
The
though? I
burn
actually
happened.
believe that. No. Like, if
burn.
you've got a miracle drug that, like, we've only met one person who's allergic to it, you probably don't bother, right?
True.
Mm.
That's the utopia world of Star Trek that we all want to live in. But yeah, we've done a whole bunch of stuff currently. Right now, we're watching through The Expanse for the first time. We are making our way through that series, delighting in it, cheering every time Aaron Wright, our favorite character, does anything shady and shifty. Love that guy. What a weasel. We love our weasels, and you will hear us bitch about a character called Havelock every single episode. Everyone's favorite character, Havelock. But if you're new to The Expanse or somebody who has seen it before, you can join us and listen to us discover the pleasure thresholds of Jim Holden, a man who has sex in 0G. So, yes, we are available all the places, and we have a Patreon if you want to help the Crusade Fund.
Yeah.
Come on over and you get those episodes early and a whole slew of other bonus material. So it's been an exciting time. We've had interviews with cast members from Space Above and Beyond and co-creator Glenn Morgan, writer, director Glenn Morgan.
Should I share the way that one of my students described that?
Oh, yes. Rachel's students found the podcast. Rachel teaches, so
Yeah.
they've discovered the pod.
Because they were like, "Oh, what are you doing this weekend?" And I accidentally said that, I have a podcast recording, because it was when we were doing the recording with Kristen and Glenn. And I was like, oh, crap. Because I taught these kids last year. So I made it like...
It's a secret you've been holding.
I made it over a year without letting this drop. And then I was like, crap. And then they were like, what is it? What is it? And I was just like, okay, if you shut up, it's not under my name. So you can't just search my name, because I teach under my maiden name. And I was like, if you shut up and let me say this one thing, I will say my married last name one time.
It's an easy name to spell.
Yeah. And one of the kids was like, I will find it. So she came up to me this week. So it was like 2 weeks of her on and off going in eventually. And she found like our YouTube, and she listened to part of the interview with Kristen and Glenn. She was like, oh, miss, you swear.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. She's like, so do you like talk to people? Like, she's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I was like, well, we were talking to them about the show that they were in. She's like, oh, so you interview celebrities that aren't celebrities.
Glenn Morgan created the Final Destination franchise, bitch.
What? She wouldn't fucking know that.
Yeah, your student's dumb and needs to be taught a lesson. I'm going to bring this up on the pod so she hears it.
No.
On this
They're
pod.
children.
We'll link
Their
her
brains
this pod.
aren't fully developed. It's fine.
No.
That's it.
Thank you for that lovely anecdote. I am terrified of my coworkers discovering this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Don't speak ill of them.
See, I was just like, I was glad that she found that, not coverage of The Expanse, because if she listened to like the start of that, like if she listened to like the first 15 minutes, then it would enter the point where Ryan is just like, so how did you thirst after Amos this episode?
Rachel's very thirsty for one of the main characters in that show. And we have every episode we have to have a check-in of what turned Rachel on this episode. And it's been very frequent. So
Nice.
good.
So I'm like, at least she didn't find that.
Can't wait to watch The Expanse.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And while we're talking about things and people that we really appreciate you, Jeremy Siegel. Thank you so much for writing our theme music. I heard that you're welcome. You can find more of Jeremy's work at jeremysiegel42.bandcamp.com or on streaming services as Nuclear Jaguar.
And thank you to Angry Duck Time Machine on Instagram for our podcast artwork.
Aaron, thanks so much for editing the podcast. Really appreciate you putting in all the time to make us sound coherent.
And thank you to you, the listener, for being here. We appreciate you spending some time with us and Ryan and Rachel and talking about Babylon 5. And if you want to talk with us in between episodes, you can get on the Discord. So you can email us at whoareyoub5@gmail.com or contact us on Facebook.
We'll see you next week, Internet.
We love Lise.
Always love Lise.
We love Lise.
We love Lise.
We
love Lise. We love Lise. We love Lise.
We love Lise. We all love Lise, everyone. This is a Lise-approved podcast.